Hey, everybody in Irvine, good afternoon. Back on the road for LA Football Mondays. BJ's Restaurant and Brew House in Irvine, the marketplace. We invite you to come down and join us. And I'm going to tell everybody in this room, you've got some work to do to beat West Covina last week.
Whoa.
We were at BJ's and this guy goes, yeah, sure, all right. We were at BJ's in West Covina last week.
No lie, West Covina was off the hook. They were loud, they were rowdy, they were crazy. I'm going to need the energy. That guy right there? Okay. Fred, can I do something before we start?
Please.
I have to give a big shout-out.
All right.
A big, giant happy birthday to my wife, Holly Robinson Peete. It is her birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Come on,
Holly.
Irvine. Irvine, I need it loud. I need it loud. There it is. Now I can go home. I wished her a happy birthday on the radio. I'm good.
Nice. Happy birthday, Holly. All right, so you had 4 big football games this weekend, 5 if you count the Raiders, and I'm talking about teams involved in L.A. But let's start with the pros. You had the Rams and the Chargers. The Rams lose to Washington. I think in this case the glass is half full because at least they look like an NFL franchise. You can say the glass is half empty because the defensive line basically did not show up and was shredded by the Redskins' running game. Eric, what did you think?
Just what you just said. I think the difference in that football game was the running game. The Redskins looked like the running game had the running game of the 80s when I played with Riggins. And one play I saw coming right at me, I called it right away. I said, here comes 47 gap. I mean, I saw the guard and tackle pulled, and I got a call from Jackie Slater last night. He said, you see the play? I said, what, 47 gap? He said, I saw it coming right at us. So when you have over 200 yards rushing the football, you really don't turn the ball over. You play okay defense. You have a chance to win the football game. The Rams, on the other hand, Jared Goff played another pretty good football game. Not great. Like, what did I tell you before? Now, hold on before you say anything, Fred.
All right.
It wasn't a phenomenal game, but
right.
One thing is the Redskins have a better pass rush than the Colts had. Going to put more pressure on it.
Well, the three of us have a better rush than the Colts do.
Maybe me and Rodney. Rodney has a better rush. Not you.
Let's not go too far.
Let's don't go crazy.
Let's
now,
not go
try to
too
make
far.
a point. All right, fine.
But for sure they had a better rush than the Colts put on, and I knew that possibly could be a problem. And that team knows Sean McVay. They know each other, so they know what each other were going to do. I'm going to tell you what I thought killed them was a lot of those draws, those quick draw plays. I think they had like a 60-yard touchdown run on one, and I saw it. I happened to be walking on the Washington Redskins sideline at that point, and I'm like, I saw the draw. I'm like, this is a problem. I mean, up front, they did not look good up front. I think they're playing, a 3-4 now instead of 4-3?
Yes.
It's not clicking right now. I mean, it may later, but right now, they needed their defense yesterday. If the defense would have played like they played last year.
It's a different game.
That's a whole different. That could be a blowout game. But yesterday, the defense let the offense down.
And the other thing is the Rams did themselves no favors with penalties and mistakes. Robert Woods a couple of times. It was as if he had reverted back to high school football and was acting with a sense of frustration instead of a professional player being in the moment and not making these mistakes.
Yeah, he cost them quite a bit at the end of the game, getting 2 personal foul penalties, unsportsmanlike. I think he had one of them.
Yeah.
One was a personal foul. But during crunch time, you got to be smarter than that. You got to keep your cool and keep your poise. What I saw was they desperately need a fresh, healthy, back in midseason form Aaron Donald in the lineup. He played a little bit. He played sparingly. They rotated him in and out. But they need that guy in the lineup in the middle of that defense on a regular basis to regulate what happened against the Redskins. Because Eric's right. They ran through them like Swiss cheese. I mean, and that was the difference in the game is their running game. I think the secondary played okay. But when you're running the football like that, that's going to open up the passing game and give the receivers a lot of room because they've got to really respect the run. But I was impressed with the Rams because they kept it competitive throughout the whole game for 60 minutes, had a chance to go down and win in the end. Jared threw the interception at the end, but they were competitive through that whole game.
Fred said one thing. He said they look like a pro football team. They did. They look like a pro football team. They looked like they had some offense yesterday. I mean, really. I mean, they were competitive. But when you give up 229 yards rushing on the ground, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to win that game unless they turn the football over 3 or 4 times. And the Redskins didn't do that. They played sound football. They didn't play great football. The Rams didn't play great either. I mean, but I would say people I talked to said, man, that was a pretty exciting football game. And we said this before. If you're going to be in L.A., you have to do something exciting. If you're going to lose, you got to lose it in an exciting way.
Right. And the thing about Jared Goff, let me say this. He was okay. And you have to take baby steps when you're dealing with him. Now, we're not used to that in this market because we have higher expectations for people, but it is what it is, and you take the baby steps. He threw the pick at the end. I don't even hold that against him. You know, Eric, you said he threw for 200 yards. Here's the thing, and you guys know it much better than I do. Yeah, he's completing passes now. He's far more comfortable in the offense. He's making things happen. But understand, he's not throwing the ball 70 yards down the field. He's not throwing the ball 45 yards down the field. There are checkoffs, there are screens, there are quick outs, there was slant, just to get him comfortable. And that shows you where he's at and how steep his learning curve will continue to be.
And you have to do that to be successful. Look at the way Tom Brady won the Super Bowl last year. It was check down. The running back, he had, 17 catches in the Super Bowl or something like that. You have to check the ball down. And if you watched yesterday, I tell you, one guy that wasn't tippy-toeing was Todd Gurley.
There you go. There you go.
You know, he caught a number of passes out of the backfield. And the touchdown he scored to tie the game up at the end or in the fourth quarter where he jumped over the guy, then got in the end zone was extremely impressive. Probably was the play of the day in the NFL to me.
I agree. I mean, Todd hasn't had a rushing game like this since 2015 in Week 14. So he played very well. I think leaving him in on third downs. And I asked him about that. You know, I asked him a couple of weeks ago, do you like being out on third downs? Like, he wants to be an every down back because a running back has to get into the game. You can't take him out and put him in and take him out and put him in. And he's the guy I see that wants to be on the field. And the more you're on the field, the more you feel confident in picking up the blitzes, you know, running the football. And I know he wants to get that 100-yard game. I want to see him get a 100-yard game. But the most important thing is winning the football game. And I say it again. They look like a pro football team.
Right.
They really did. I mean, that game could have went either way. It really could have. But, you know, when I think about how the game went, it's really – last year we talked about the offense, how bad the offense was last year. The offense is terrible. They're not giving the defense any help. Defense doing this here. Well, yesterday the offense, I say, did their job yesterday, and the defense really let them down. I mean, the quarterback, he had 240 yards passing, our rookie quarterback, against the Washington Redskins. I mean – I thought it was a good day, even though we lost the football game.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, you know, count your blessings when you get them.
Exactly. Because there's going to be some days where you're going to be like, oh, this was a bad one.
Yeah, there are, Eric, but look at it like this. There were a lot of days last year where, this is a bad one. They look like an NFL franchise. Again, the bar was not very high to start with, but they look like an NFL franchise. I think you have to give credit where credit is due. We're going to talk about the Chargers. We'll get into USC, and we'll touch on UCLA. Your Langers poll question of the day at 866-987-2570. Your best 30-second take wins Langers, $105.70, $105.70 gift card. Langers on 7th and Alvarado, an L.A. institution. If you're driving around downtown L.A., there is only one place you need to be. And keep in mind, Wednesday, we want everybody to go to Langers. Everybody in downtown and eat between noon and 1. Listen to the show on the iHeartRadio app. We'll give you a cue to call. When you hear the cue, you call. If you're the first caller, we're going to have you prove that you're there and give the phone to Norm. If Norm says you're there, we're buying you lunch. Now, if
not your friend Norm, not your cousin Norm.
No, Norm Langer.
Not your buddy Norm.
Norm Langer.
Norm Langer, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So if you don't go, if you don't win, but you go, then you still have the best meal of your day. It's that simple. That's what's coming up Wednesday. Here is the Langers poll question of the day. Our recommendation is always get in early because we don't want to have you locked out or shut out at the end. So the Rams lost. We'll talk about the Chargers, but to me, and I know we are the radio home of the Chargers, I can't talk about a distinguishable fact about that game except it happened. They lost. USC was supposed to dominate, won in double overtime. UCLA was supposed to remain unbeaten and lost to Memphis on a bad decision by Josh Rosen late in the game. That's your weekend of football. And the Raiders won. That's your weekend of football. Of those four teams, as I laid them out, what is more concerning to you? Who should have the most concern here? The Chargers, the Rams, USC, or UCLA? We laid it out. 866-987-2570. 866-987-2570. Your best 30-second take wins Langers. Eric, I laid out four. Rams, Chargers, USC, UCLA. Who should have the most concern right now?
The Chargers, first of all, because they can't sell out a 27,000-foot stadium. Now, that's a big concern. Phillip Rivers can put up these great numbers, and he seems to come back at the end, but they're not winning. I mean, that's what it comes down to. They're not winning football games. Miami is a team that I think that everybody underestimates. I do too. I mean, I don't think of Miami being a good football team. I mean, you know, when I look at the numbers that Jay Cutler had 230 yards passing, 1 touchdown, but Ajayi is the difference. 122 yards rushing. If you can run the football, I'm telling you, you can run the football and throw the football, you have a great chance of winning a football game. The Dolphins do that. They play great defense, nothing fancy. They seem to shut you down, put you in third and long situations, and manage the ball on the ground. But with the Chargers, like I say, with Phillip Rivers, he puts up the numbers, but they're just not winning. And they came and sell the stadium out.
All right, so I gave you 4, Rodney. Rams, Chargers, USC, UCLA. Eric says the people that should be the most concerned right now are the Chargers. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with a lot what Eric said with the Chargers, being that, you know, they lost to Miami. They're 0-2 in this whole fight for L.A. But I got to look at UCLA. I think when you look at UCLA and their schedule and what they were opening up with, they had a chance to be 3-0, probably 4-0 before they really get into Pac-12 play. They're excited about their quarterback. He's doing well. He's in the conversation for the Heisman Player of the Year, all those type of things. And it seemed like UCLA finally got it turned around a little bit, and they go into Memphis and they stumble. I don't know what this is going to do to them, but this is another team that put up 48-plus points on them on that defense. So that's got to be a big concern for UCLA because it doesn't get any easier once they start Pac-12 play.
866-987-2570. Langer's poll question of the day, what team should be more concerned? Or if you're a fan, which fan should be more concerned? 866-987-2570. People love when I tell you the television rankings over the weekend. For whatever reason, people really think it's a barometer or an indicator of how people in the market feel about the teams. This weekend, number 1 football game in Los Angeles. Sunday Night Football on NBC, the Packers and the Falcons. And I will tell you that the number was down because it was on against the Emmys. So the Emmys did siphon some of the audience away, but still it was number 1. Number 2 game in Los Angeles this weekend. Understand we had 2 home teams playing, and both at the same time. Number 2, Eagles-Chiefs.
Eagles-Chiefs?
So the Eagles-Chiefs beat both the local teams.
Wow.
Number 3, Rodney, your face is what?
Baffled.
Yeah. Now you have your first local team, the Rams, taking on the Redskins, were number 3. And they were a little behind the Eagles-Chiefs. Number 4, and this is highly unusual, rarely happens, and is either very good for one team or horribly embarrassing for the other. Number 4, USC and Texas. Number 5, the Chargers and Dolphins. So that, Eric's laughing, that tells you, and this is very unusual, rarely does a college game defeat a pro game.
Yeah, very rare.
In a home market.
Yeah.
Rarely does that happen. I don't care who it is. Rarely does that occur. USC Texas had more people watching than Chargers and Dolphins. That's making a statement.
Well, this is a USC town also.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Mr. USC sitting on the end right there. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but
Yeah. I mean, I hear what you're saying. It's rare that a college team beats an NFL team in the ratings. But this was a build-up game with USC and Texas that a lot of people were looking forward to for a long, long time. So I get where the numbers go for USC Texas. Probably won't see that for another game unless it's a bowl game. But I'm not shocked by that, Fred, to be honest with you.
And I'm stunned.
Are you?
As somebody that follows this stuff, as long as I have, I am stunned. The NFL is dominant in every market in America. It should be. It speaks to a couple of issues here that you're seeing this. First, with football being gone for 20 years, people have adopted other teams now. They have other allegiances. So unless you were here back in the day, you don't really care about either of these teams. And that's just being honest.
Well, it's fantasy football, too.
And fantasy football.
Yeah.
The Rams fans love the Rams, but that's because they were Rams fans before. I don't think they've converted anyone at this point. And the Chargers, that's just a problem. I mean, that's a real problem. Now, I'll say this. It is a problem, but I've not spoken to Dean Spanos, but I got to tell you, yesterday they flew a banner over the stadium in Carson, you're the worst owner in sports, and people are holding up signs in the crowd, you're the worst owner in sports. You want to know something? The worst owner in sports is probably one of the smartest people you'll ever meet. Because by coming up to Los Angeles and leaving San Diego, he made $1 billion.
I'll take that. I'll take that bet anytime.
Yeah, his franchise appreciated $1 billion. So as people can say, you're the worst, and look what you've done, what he'll probably say is, here's what I have to do. I got to get down to the bank. Because I just made an awful lot of money.
And, it was a decision that had to be made. And let's be honest, they fought for a new stadium in San Diego for years,
right,
and just couldn't get it done. So inevitably, something was going to give, and they moved up here. The problem, though, Fred, is what a lot of people are talking about today is not the game, it's not the Chargers, it's not them coming back. It's the $100 it costs to go park at StubHub.
Yeah, we got to talk about
it. $100?
Yeah,
$100.
Wow.
Yeah, we got to talk about
that. Let me ask you this, Fred. So, do you think that the Chargers being in L.A. And you think that could force San Diego could possibly build a stadium, they could move back to San Diego?
Will never happen.
So you think they're in L.A. for good?
Yeah, that'll never happen. By going back to San Diego, what you've done is decrease the value of your asset. Moving here is beachfront property. It goes down to and we'll talk about the San Fernando Valley because all three of us are acquainted with it. I'm sure Arleta is beautiful. I've not spent a lot of time there. But if you could live in Arleta or Malibu, I think you'd be in Malibu.
All day long.
I don't know. I don't like the water, Fred.
I don't swim, but I still like to look at it.
That's not to equate San Diego with Arleta, but the point is there's a difference in real estate value. And in real estate and in business, location, location, location. So I don't see the Chargers ever leaving here. Somebody asked me a question last week. Hey, you think the Chargers and Raiders might trade? And the Chargers would go to Las Vegas, and the Raiders would come here. And I wrote, not a chance.
Not a chance.
Not a chance.